Welcome to the Exactpro Systems YouTube channel. Here you can catch up on the latest technology updates in software testing and development for the financial industry. These include the applications of AI and machine learning, DLT, cloud computing, and many other technologies and solutions. You can find the recordings of our latest conferences featuring top-level speakers from global market infrastructures, world's leading banks, and technology vendors. You can watch the Exactpro experts sharing their insights with the fintech community at events all around the world, and with our subscribers in the regular Exactpro Talks segment. If you're interested in the Exactpro test tools released to open source, you'll find a list of tutorials here as well. We also put a new spin on some of the popular shows that we bet you've never thought were about software testing. This channel is for chief technology, information and compliance professionals, product owners, and software quality assurance and development specialists of all levels. Subscribe to our channel, hit the bell button to stay up to date on all the videos, and visit our website exactpro.com if you want to learn more about us.
Hello everyone. Please write in YouTube chat if you can hear me well. Great. We're happy to see you all on our webinar dedicated to Kari Kakkonen's book, Dragon's Out. My name is Lana and I'm a moderator of today's event. Let me tell you a little bit about our presenter, Kari. Kari is a director of Knowit, author, also treasurer at FiSTB, and an executive board member of ICTQ for years. He has recently published his book, Dragon Out, that will be discussed today. With fantasy stories, the book not only significantly expands the traditional audience interested in the topic, but also serves as a great introduction for adults who are willing to get acquainted with software testing. So before we move to the main part, it will be interesting to know more about the audience itself. So from which locations you have joined us. And I would like to ask you to write the answers in the chat so we can see it together. Please write the answers in the chat, so I'm waiting. Great, Moscow. Any other locations? Please be active in YouTube chat. Russia, great, Tbilisi. Kostroma. Great, so we have international audience today, all from US, great. Okay, cool. So let's move on. As you have noticed, our source of communication for the next 1 hour will be YouTube chat. So after the presentation, you may write your question there and we will cover them. So now I would like to ask Iosif Itkin, CEO and co-founder of Exactpro, to join us and share his speech with you. Iosif, are you with us?
Hello.
Hello, Iosif, we can hear you and see you. So you can start.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lana. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning to Exactpro YouTube channel today. As you know, Exactpro is software testing business. We build software to test software for mission-critical systems in financial sector, and we are very interested in everything related to software testing. On Exactpro YouTube channel, you can find videos, trainings, you can find our take on various shows like Avengers or Westworld, etc. So we constantly on the look for more exciting software testing content. When a few years ago, I've discovered that Kari is working on the children book, I was very excited because I have my own kids, most of our employees and clients and partners, they all have kids. And I believe software testing is very important, and it is the way into the future. In the near future, more and more systems around us will be complex, and software testing will help us to understand what's going on. So it is a critical skill that will be very useful to everyone. So it was great, and I hope we supported this idea. But publishing a book requires enormous effort, and I hope Kari today will share with us what it takes to publish such an amazing book. And without further ado, I will pass the word to Kari, so he will tell about his work, his book, and software testing. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joseph. So I guess I would like to invite Kari to start the presentation. Kari, are you with us? Okay, great. Hi, Karim.
Hello, hello.
So I will share the presentation right now. Okay, great. So you can start, Karim.
Thanks, Lana, and thanks very much, Joseph, for the kind words. It's really great to be here, and I'm very glad that you invited me to speak. Excellent stuff. Let's start. So we'll talk about the book. We'll talk about matters around how children actually learn testing, and also I'll cover a little bit of what can any of us professional testers and people interested in testing do about that information in our daily lives. So quite many things. My background, as you heard, is from multiple sources. So I've been in testing for 25 years. At my employer Knowit for almost 20 years, leading the training business there, and also training and coaching quite much. And then I've been very active on a position of trust, so FiSTB, Finnish Software Testing Board, and recently also TMMI. So lots of things that I have done, quite interesting. So I come from Knowit, which recently acquired Cybercom, so now it's almost 4,000 people, quite a big company in the Nordic countries and around the Baltic Sea. My other background on FiSTB, global world's biggest testing association. I was in the executive board for 6 years, and I've done various other things as well in the association. It's a great association trying to advance the software testing profession. But that's my brief backgrounder. Let's go into the actual topic. So this is the agenda. So we'll start with the quick book project recap. Talk about how is it like to write a book, get it published. When we go to talk about the fantasy as a way to learn software testing, which is the main idea in the book, obviously. Then I have something about some numbers and some statistics about results from book readers, some feedback. And that leads into how children actually learn software testing. And then we extrapolate that into how adults can learn in software testing. And finally, in the end, we'll have a drawing exercise. So you can already prepare by taking a piece of paper and pen, have them close by. I'll explain more when we get there. And we'll also have a few other questions on the way using Slido. But again, we'll get there. All right, so this is our next hour or so. So let's go to the book project recap. So why? I participated in James Whittaker's workshop about creativity and storytelling some years ago, and I got the spark of telling my own story there, a story that I would deem very important. So he put it very well in his storytelling manifesto. I'll just read it aloud. It's very touching, I think. Every person has a story. Every cause needs a storyteller. Learn to be a storyteller, because unless you are a candidate for a reality show, no one else is going to tell your story for you. So tell us a story. Tell us a good story. And let that good story be one part in a symphony of stories that makes this world a better place. I really like that. It takes the story into making the world a better place. And I believe software testing makes world a better place. So we need to have more software testing. We need to have more people in software testing. So my story is the fantasy book of getting children already interested in software testing. And why should we get children interested? I think we have a serious lack of testing in the world. There are not enough testers. There's not enough testing. And this problem will just grow because we have more and more software all the time. The software is becoming more complex. There are already lots of steps being taken trying to get more developers, more programmers, more coders. There are coding schools, there are coding books for children, even for kindergarten age, but no books, no teaching, no education for children about testing. So I think we need to fix that lack, which is why I wanted to write a book. I authored a book about software testing. So we get more testing on a bit longer run into the world. Now here's the one slider about the timeline of what it took to write this book. So the first idea that there could be a book about testing was back in 2014. So that's now 7 years ago. That was when a Finnish author, Linda Liukas, published Hello Ruby, which was a coding book for children of kindergarten age. Now, already that time I realized there must be a book. It wasn't quite sure if that would be me who writes a book, but I wanted that book to be somehow. So I started thinking about when I could have time to write it and do this book project. Many people said you could do it as a side job. I thought, no, I need some more time. And then the opportunity presented itself. My family, me and my wife and my son, we decided to have a sabbatical, a year off work, just live easily, go into north in Lapland, do lots of exercise, skiing, trekking. And one of the goals I set myself for that year was to write the book, which I did. So over half a year, since late 2019 to June 2020, I wrote the Finnish version of the Dragons Out book. It was an iterative work, so I created a few chapters at a time, sent them to my pilot readers. I was trying to get more and more pilot readers over time, both children of different ages and adults. Got some excellent feedback. I found the real format and kind of a story that works, level of understanding that is needed to get with testing concepts. And then finally I had a book, a manuscript ready. I also decided I need to have some illustration there because I need to have the book come alive for children. And for that, I looked for illustrators. I found Adrian Zell to be my illustrator. Always, of course, cost. So I set up a crowdfunding campaign and got enough funds to get the illustration done. Then I did some translation over just 1 month. I translated the book in English because my plan was from the start to publish in Finnish and English roughly at the same time. Over the winter, I was looking for publishers. I found a Finnish publisher, Avain, who published my book in Finnish in December 2020, and also with the English publisher, Austin McCauley, who then published the English edition of Dragons Out on the 30th of July, so less than a month ago. So it's now very fresh. The deliveries are rolling out to people who pre-ordered, and it's doing nice. I also want to mention I did a school donation campaign So I got ICT companies and individuals as well donating books, not only buying books for themselves, but also donating books to schools, mostly in Finland, but some also internationally. And also I donated personally for each 2 books. I donated 1 book. Each sold book, I donated 1 book into schools. And I would encourage this donation to continue, of course. So buy books, donate them to schools. Schools are always lacking funds to buy interesting and needed information. So that's the book project in a nutshell. Let's look at the next slide, which is mentioning the main details of the book. So I'm the only author. My illustrator is Andrew Hensel. The rights are all in my company that I set up for the book, so Dragons Out Oy, company based in Finland. There's also a presentation that supports this book. It's also a standalone presentation for anybody who wants to teach testing in schools. You don't need the book. This book will make the experience better. The presentation is also translated into many languages. You can go into the website there and find the teacher materials. Excellent stuff. There's also Russian and Georgian translations there available right now, thanks to Exactpro. Thank you. So lots of good stuff happening around the book as well, not only the book. But let's move on to talk about fantasy as a way to learn software testing. So how does it work? Does it work? I think it works quite nicely. So let's go into the content and see how it works. So my main idea is that it's easier to explain a difficult concept like software testing, for example, by using an analogy, using a story to explain it in some words that are easier to understand, maybe even more attractive, like a fantasy story with dragons and knights tends to be quite attractive, especially to children. So in a book, I'm always telling a story, so you can read the whole book as a fantasy story, and every now and then there is a text box explaining what just happened in the story and what would it mean in IT world, in the world of software development and software testing. So main analogy is that there are dragons which are harassing villages and castles, and then there are knights who are trying to find the dragons and get rid of the dragons. So the dragons are defects in software. Software is the village or the city or the castle, and then you have the knights who are developers and testers. So that's how it works. That's the key thing. So let me run through a few of these analogies, and let's see if you can guess without explanation what each of these means. There will be a Slido. You can open a Slido in your mobile phone or your laptop if you like. Igor will be placing the links to these questions into the YouTube chat. So actually, Igor, if you could put the first question into the YouTube chat, please. So this is about annoying dragon. So this dragon is red. It's annoying because it's somewhere there. It's not even sure if it's there, but there's always some trouble, and lamps are disappearing. This kind of dragon breathes fire, has small wings. It just runs around in the forest. So it's there. It's difficult to find, but it's obviously there. But once you find it, it's fairly straightforward to get rid of that. So what kind of defect would this annoying dragon represent? We're going to show the results already. So let's see what you answer. Which one of these do you think it is? Go ahead, you can guess. It's not very serious. Which one could it be? All right, we get some numbers. I'll give it a few more seconds to see if it changes. At the moment, memory leak is leading. 2 more seconds, and then we can go back to the slide. All right, let's go back to the slide. Yeah. All right. So memory leak is the correct answer. So it represents memory leak, which is typically something that just happens. Things get slower. At some point, you realize there must be a problem, especially if the computer actually crashes. And as people in development and testing know, it is because of usually memory runs out. It's not freed when it is being, it's not used anymore. And at some point, the memory just runs out. And then there's nothing else that the computer can do but crash. So hard to find. But once you find it, it's usually obvious with proper tools to find the place where to fix the code and get rid of this. All right. So this is a particular dragon, actually in the first chapter of the book. Most of the defects are, of course, functionality-based defects. So they're actually robbing dragons. So dragons that are there, they come in different forms. Some are big, some are small. Some are easy to spot, some are hard to spot. So these robin dragons are basically harassing all kinds of villages, and so they represent functionality defects, which is the most typical type of defect anyway. Difficult to find defects, easy to find defects. Some are hard to fix, some are easy to fix. So analogy works quite nicely. But let's see what you think about the next one. So next one is mean dragon. So this is a Slido question 2. If you're eager, please put that link in the YouTube chat. So this dragon is a black dragon, quite small, flies. It's difficult to spot. Once you find it, fairly easy to get rid of, medium difficulty. What it does, it is stealing food, and it is stealing treasure as well without being detected. What could it be? Let's look at the results and see what you guess. Okay, we are getting lots of your votes on the security defects, even more. I think we can go back to the slides. And indeed, it is a security defect. So the black color there was also hinting a little bit about black hats, criminals who are breaking into systems, stealing data, stealing information, maybe extorting, maybe asking money for the data, things like that. So security defects are something you can also find, problems, vulnerabilities that you can fix after finding them. Very important type of defect, of course. You want to get rid of these. Okay, let's take another example. This is an underground dragon. And here's question 3 in the Slido. Again, Igor, if you would please put the link into YouTube chat. So underground dragon, they are not flying, small wings. They are just making tunnels underground, finding their way to castles and villages, but going underground through those holes in the ground, finding easy food, eating the food. What could this be? Let's look at the results and your guesses. All right, let's give it a few more seconds. Hardware defect is getting lots and lots of votes. Also, testability gets some. All right. Looks like they're going back to the hardware defect. Looks like most of you think it is a hardware defect. Let's go back to the slides and take a look at the correct answer. So it was hardware defect. Indeed, So hardware defects are something that, of course, might seem like software defects first, but usually pretty often it's obvious that some part of the hardware is not working. It's the computer or a network or whatever part of hardware, and obviously you still need to find it. You need to replace that faulty part, and then again it works. There's one more question, which is question number 4 in Slido. So Igor, if you again paste that into the YouTube chat, please. So a nice dragon. And I wanted to place a nice dragon in the story, not only because there are nice dragons, but also because children actually like dragons. My own son mentioned that really all the dragons are bad, like defects are bad. It can't be. Dragons are nice, and I agree. Yes, they are nice dragons. I specifically chose to write a chapter, actually a few chapters about nice dragons. So what can they be? What can be a good dragon? Let's see what you think. What can be a good dragon? Let's give it a few more seconds. A useful dragon, a good dragon. This is probably the most difficult of these. What could be a good dragon? All right. Okay, let's go back to the slides. Okay, so a nice dragon is here a defect seeding or mutation testing defect. So a defect that was put in the code on purpose. And the whole idea of defect seeding or mutation testing is that you, coder or tester, you place defects in the code, and the idea is that once you have found all those seeded defects, you have also found all the other defects. So, and to do that, you need to spread the seeded defects evenly throughout the software. Not the most used technique, but once you start using it, you realize it's actually giving you a nice idea about test coverage. There are obviously nice dragons of other kinds as well. Any defect can be useful. You could even say it's always good to find the defects always before software goes into production. So in that way, from that point of view, any defect is good. But here I meant defect seeding. All right, great guesses. Thank you very much. Let's go forward. So I'll explain the other character analogies. So knights are developers and testers. Here I especially chose to have both coders and testers to be knights, because that's the way the world works in more and more places and projects. So people are using Agile, where people are in the same team, be they developers or coders or testers or UX people or anything. So together people find the problems. Some maybe specialize in coding, some maybe specialize in testing, but still they are in the same team. They are all knights. There are also children. So as we know, people who are using software also find defects. Some find them accidentally. So in the production version of a software, there is a problem and you need to find it. Sometimes users are faster than actual developers or testers. There are also, of course, beta tests or pilot tests. So users are actually asked to be part of the software project to help finding defects. Anyway, there are children, villagers, who can help the knights in the story to fight dragons. So users can help testers to find defects. There are also hunters. Hunters represent here technical support or maintenance people. So people who are maintaining or running the software, they can often find defects and fix them on their own. They don't always need to ask help from developers. They can ask, of course, and they will ask if they can't fix problems on their own. Sometimes these people are in the DevOps team, So that's also an alternative. And there are also lords and ladies, so people who pay for the software, who are product owners maybe, who are saying, I want this to be in the software. So in the story, lords and ladies are maintaining armies of knights who are defending the castles and villages from dragons, and who are also helping to build the palisades and the walls around castles to protect from dragons. So lords and ladies are in that role. There are also sages or wise men, or even you could say mages. So these represent experts. So the Agile teams, the software development teams, they always try to have all the skills possible, but it's still often needed to bring in some experts on specific topics like usability, like security, like performance, who can then help the teams and the product owners to actually work well and help avoid defects and find defects. So sages help knights to fight dragons. Right. So that's how fantasy works. So the story is interesting, and then there are good analogies that help understand what testing can be. Let's look at the feedback survey. So over the time of writing a book and publishing and people reading a book. So now lots of this feedback is from Finnish book, of course, because English book just came out. So I had many talks with different teachers and children and their parents often about how the book works. And I also run a feedback survey to get some numbers to back the opinions of different people. So here are the initial findings. Interesting one is that when teachers are using the presentation and the book to explain testing to children, they can actually do it on multiple different subjects. It's not necessarily math, which I actually thought it would be to start with, because most of the people who, most of the teachers who were the most interested about the book idea, they're math teachers. Somehow software development and testing is an extension of mathematics. But the numbers here show that actually coding classes, surprise, are the best place to use software testing content, teach that topic to children. But also math classes, also science classes, also game design and robotics. Interesting, also mother tongue. Well, not that strange, because when you read a book, that's actually about your mother tongue. Usually, you are learning the linguistic skills there, and also arts, because the book actually has interesting drawing exercises. So you can combine drawing and coding, for example. You will learn both on the same go. This is actually called in Finland phenomenal learning. Comes with different names in different countries, but that's a general trend, combining different teaching subjects. Then I also asked what parts of book actually are most interesting to children, and not surprisingly, the dragons and the story they're the most interesting stuff. Then you have lots of different other topics that are fairly even. I think this is very much expected, because that's also my assumption to start with. An interesting fantasy story is what keeps children attracted to the topic, and then as a side effect, they get to know about software testing and hopefully get interested. At least some of those people so much that they do software testing maybe later in their life. Also, organized learning seems to be the best place. Obviously, you can read a book on your own, but what teachers did was combined the book reading into presentations and discussions in the classes, sometimes talking, speaking aloud, reading aloud the book, asking questions, discussing the content. So lots of different types of places where they could use a book. to conclude, combining learning approaches seems to be the thing. So drawing some dragons and other things, knights as well, that give some interesting stuff to do for children. Listening or reading, so you can use the auditory areas for that. Understanding through analogies, and exploring, trying things out, exploratory testing in practice, also exercise like that. So combining these approaches works best. That's the big outcome of this. And that leads us to how children learn. So over the course of my book project, what I have found about how children learn is that they learn through stories and examples. They like stories. That's something they can easily remember. There can be also idols, heroes in the stories that's easy to identify with. That's actually why I put children in every chapter in the book. Children also like to imitate, so they like to do similar things as the heroes do. We also like rhymes and songs and games. So doing something else than just reading, which is why I had different exercises and games in the book. So there's always some content, and then there are exercises. Some of those are drawings, some are games. Then they also like to do exploring, which is why I'm really promoting the idea that children should actually try to test something through exploratory testing, which is the easiest way to start with from zero. Simplicity and clarity are definitely important. So the simple the terms are, or the concepts, the easier it is for children to remember them. So even a complicated concept like a software testing concept can be put into easy words. So that's definitely useful. Repetition, yeah, there's lots of that in the book. And remembering, yeah, there are some exercises that are about remembering things and checking if you remember. And also boundaries. Children need to know what can be done, what cannot be done, also in the book. So many different types of ways for children to learn. There's some research that points out that it is always good to combine with different approaches. So not only I found it, but also in my own work, but also the research suggests that it's better to give different strategies for children to learn. So good to combine with different learning strategies. That's then more powerful. That's more likely that kids learn. And about storytelling, storytelling can be imagined as only reading something, or somebody speaking something aloud, and other people are listening. But it's also, as the research here points out, it is good for anybody. For visual learners, it's like having mental pictures in your mind about the story. For auditory learners, they can actually connect emotions as well to the storyteller's voice. For kinesthetic, again, the emotional connection is there, and obviously, as I already said, storytelling is easier to remember. It was a dragon of that size, and there's a story around it, and I suddenly remember, oh, it's memory leak dragon, right? So storytelling is easier to remember. Research also points out that a difficult concept requiring more metacognition skills, fancy word, usually comes around for children around 11 or 12. And also found this by trying my first chapters in the book for different ages of children, and my idea is that you need to be at least 10 to start fully understanding what the topics are in the book. I have read my book for my 7-year-old son, but and he listened to the whole book enthusiastically. I think mostly because of the fantasy story, but he did listen through. But I think full understanding actually comes around age of 10 and more. So out of that, I collected and put together 6 takeaways. What are the 6 ways how children learn testing best. So first one is that you take some example and some analogy, so fantasy example, and explain that into the ICT world, into the testing world. Second one is that be clear and concise. No extra things, just the key content. Other thing is about having more exercise, less about the theory. So 5 minutes theory, 20 minutes exercise. That's especially in the presentation material supporting the book. Then the other learning, fourth one, is that you need to use all your senses. Not only read it, but also draw with dragons, ask somebody else to read it to you so you can listen to it, and so on. Fifth one is about sharing your results. Here I've used Padlet to share the results of different exercises, and we'll actually do the same thing as the last exercise here. You'll get to try that part. And the last one is that you immediately try out your test ideas into an app, again in one of the exercises. So if we extrapolate all that into adults, could we do the same things? Is there something we can use out of those findings for how adults learn software testing and other materials for that matter? Obviously, yes, there are. So those same 6 takeaways transfer into the world of adults. First one, examples and analogues of real life. It doesn't need to be fantasy, but compare something to testing, and suddenly you make things easier to understand. Similar thing about being clear and concise, always a good thing. Doing hands-on exercises, using all the senses. I go into more detail in next slides. Having a common place for real-time status, and then just testing. So let's take a look at the next 6 slides, which are all explaining these. So analogues, I find that using something that people anyway talk about, like cars, like their hobbies, as an example, and making an example between that hobby, for example, and the testing world. People are suddenly getting the idea of why we test, or why we test in a certain way, or why we test so much, or why we need to test some more. So analogies are good. I actually write a blog as well, which is mostly about analogies of real life into software testing. Next one is clear and concise communication. So being very precise, not just talking around the topic, but saying it exactly as it is, and starting from big picture, which is often a vision. I think that works for testing even better than for most of the software development projects. Testers tend to have, I find, the big picture about how things relate to each other, what is the key thing for the customer, what is the key thing for the users. So being clear about why we test, what we test exactly is really important. So if you can somehow relate to that, formulate that into a very concise purpose of why we test, the rest of the testing comes easily after that. Next one is hands-on exercises. So instead of just talking about different theories and great ideas, let's try them out. Let's do exercises. Let's do it. And so for that, testing classes always should have real exercises and real examples. Just get a test environment up and try it. Install the tool and try it. Get that testing technique applied into some real software and try to test it using that new idea. Hands-on exercises. That's the takeout here. Next one is use all the senses. So when people are learning testing, I find it especially on testing trainings that I deliver quite often. You need to have multiple ways to reach the audience. You need to discuss, you need to explain concepts through slides, you need to have exercises, you need to reflect what we just went through, what does it mean for me or us as a team. You also need to use your physical being. You need to write things. So it's good to write notes. It's good to keep notes together, and everybody on their own as well. Because just the fact of using multiple senses, as we learned, makes learning easier and better. Next one is real-time status of testing. So what we can learn about that is to use a group memory, which is a common term for anything that's common. Yeah, so not only notes of your own, but notes of everybody together. So make it visible. If you are in a physical room, have a flip chart, put your stuff up there. If you are on an electronic platform, like now in Corona times, very often online, have some system where you can put the status and ideas together. It could be Mural or Miro. I like them for putting sticky notes up. Very good. Mind maps, I also like them. Also, obviously, any software that has testing status, whatever it is a good thing for real-time status of testing. And next one is start testing immediately. So don't plan forever. Don't do too many test cases. Start testing, and exploratory testing is here the big solution. So when you learn, try to test. What I personally do in my classes, often I get some startup company software to be used, and then people are immediately getting to try a new technique, using that technique to test that software of a startup company, which is an interesting win-win situation. So when you learn something, try to use it immediately to generalize a bit. So good finding as well. Okay, so now it is time for that exercise. So I hope you all have your paper and pencil. So what we are going to do in this exercise, and so this is an exercise that that is the most wanted exercise that I've tried with children, and also in several conferences. So works very nice for people of all ages. So you get to imagine a defect and try to make that defect a dragon. So you can think about any defect that you like, some interesting defect, maybe some very severe defect, whatever defect you want to choose, and then think about that defect in fantasy. What would it be? What kind of dragon would it be? And then when after you imagine that dragon, maybe you want to write a few words on a piece of paper to make it more clear to yourself. But once you imagine what kind of dragon it could be, draw that dragon. And in the drawing exercise, in the drawing part of this exercise, it's not important to be the best artist in the world. Don't draw too carefully, but try to draw your idea of a dragon into the piece of paper. So if it's a big defect, it's probably a big dragon that fills the whole sheet of paper. So try to convey that idea there. And once you have drawn your dragon, you can take a photo of that drawing, and then you can do two things. One thing is post it in the Padlet. So actually, Igor, if you please post the padlet.com link in the YouTube chat. So you can open that link to Padlet on your mobile phone, and then it's easy there just to click add a picture, and when it goes into a gallery of pictures, and you can add the picture of your dragon drawing. And I will open in a short while the Padlet here, so we can all see what kind of pictures of dragons are coming up. Another thing you can do is send that a picture of a dragon to me, and anybody who sends a picture to dragon to my email there, so kari.kakkonen@dragonside.com, then you can enter into the draw to win one of the Dragonside books. So I will check the answer address and everything once you email me for the winner. so you can do things. So okay, let's start drawing, and while we draw, we can go into questions and answers mode as well, because this is the last second last slide. So we can go into Q&A mode. So here we go. And let me just share this one. So now you should be seeing my Padlet. And it will probably take several minutes before we get the first dragon there. So at the same time, we also go to questions from the audience. So Lana has kindly promised to relay me questions that are in the YouTube chat. Are there any questions yet?
Yeah, Kari, thank you for the interesting presentation. So I will check right now in YouTube chat if we have any questions. By the way, it is an enormous work you did for the young generation. I do hope that they will grow up already with better understanding of testing and become professionals much easier. So I don't see any questions right now, but I hope that they will appear soon.
Yeah. So to carry on from that point, so it's actually one of the best feedback that I got was from a son of a friend of mine who read the book on his own, also without his parents. But my friend then told me what this child had said, and it was that was so interesting. I want to be a software tester when I grow up. So that was the best possible feedback. Really, I really got that child at least interested in the software testing profession.
We have one question actually from Luba Konova. So the question is the following: why lords and ladies do not listen to testers?
Aha, okay. So lords here are the product owners, so people who own the software. I think they do listen to the testers, certainly, and they have their specific role to play. So if you talk about lords and ladies first in the world of dragons and knights, so obviously the lords and ladies are needed to run villages. They have money, they have funds, they can maintain villages, they can pay the wages of knights. So they are really needed, and I think they do think about what their knights are telling to them. They also do listen to the villagers. Their people. I don't know what do they think. They try to rule their villages nicely, and if we take that into the world of software testing, so do product owners and companies who own the software, do they actually listen to their testers? So if a tester says that, this will be a big problem if we don't fix that, I think they actually generally listen to the testers. Of course, not always. Sometimes there is a big hurry to release the software into the market. For Christmas market, for example, it can't be delayed. Otherwise, it's a big miss for the company if we are missing a Christmas market. So we just need to release even for there are open defects that the testers have found. So sometimes we need to understand the business reality, and this is, of course, what the lords and ladies or the product owners or the companies they need to understand, and they need to have this balance of having a good quality software and very happy users and obviously happy testers, and then meeting with deadlines, getting to the market when the market is there, and not too late, because if they are too late, their competition will be there anyway, and they will just lose business. So I think that's the biggest reason. So if you think they didn't listen to testers, I think that's true sometimes, but it is for a good reason. Yeah. Let's take a look at some photos, because now there are photos. So Yeah, there is first photo of a bug. Nice.
Also, we have one more question from Yosef.
Yeah.
So why dragons instead of bugs?
It's a good point. I think there are many reasons. I think dragons are more attractive from the point of view of a story. And if you look at the number of books in the world that are placed in a medieval setting, that have knights, and some of them have also dragons, that seems to be a proven way of getting children interested. So if I was to write a story about bugs, even for real bugs like ladybugs and cockroaches and whatever, I don't think they would be that sexy to read about. People wouldn't buy that book that easily. It could be more easily understood, maybe, because a bug defect is called a bug, and then you could have an actual bug in the story, but not quite. I have to tell you another thing that I was thinking about when I was trying to choose what the fantasy topic would be. I was thinking about a small person, like in some stories you have people, and then they are made smaller, so they are actually for whatever reason they have been miniaturized, so they are very small. So I was thinking about writing a story of a mini person, 5 centimeter tall person having adventures somewhere, and then that would be somehow related to testing, but I wasn't able to carry through that idea. So this is what I did. I was trying out a few ideas in my mind, and then dragons very quickly became the idea that I liked. I thought will carry through. And as I said, I tried that idea with several children, and the feedback was good. So that's what I chose. The other answer is that I also like dragons. I like dragons. I like fantasy books myself. I like role playing. There are dragons and knights as well. So
Great.
there are lots of nice dragons in there. Some dragon that looks a bit like chicken. Nice, cool. All right. Are there any more questions? I think
we
we'll
have
take a few more minutes, and then we'll probably finish the webinar.
Yeah, we have more like comments, not questions. Comment from Ekaterina that it's an amazing example of teaching in a simple way.
Yeah.
Another one from Tatiana, drawing dragons. That's a kind of psychotherapy.
Yeah.
So
true.
yeah, these are And from Lyuba Konova that there was a small blue dragon on the slide.
Yeah, small blue dragon. Cool. Cool. Yeah. Any other comments?
Not yet.
Okay. All right. But it's good to see people catching up with the dragon idea. Actually, about drawing as a therapy, there are books about relax with drawing.
Like art therapy.
Yeah, exactly. It is a scientific method of getting relaxed and less stressful. Yeah, actual therapy. So I think we are tapping into that as well with this book. A little bit of everything, combining approaches. Quite unique. Actually, it was quite hard to when talking to publishers to decide. Is it a fantasy book? Is it a children's book? Is it maybe some encyclopedic, informational book, educational book? What is it? Is it an IT book? It can be classified in so many categories. In the end, I decided to call it a children's book, so it's under children's book category in both of my publishers. But yeah, difficult choice.
Actually, it's a great idea to combine everything in one book, like IT book for children, art therapy.
Yeah.
Because this way children learn faster, and it is more interesting for them to learn in this way.
Yeah. Very true. But so, okay, I think we can go back to the last slide. So if you are still drawing, you can still, your Padlet will stay up for some time. You can still post it there, and obviously you can email it to me. And as said, you will then enter into the draw and have a chance to win one of the books. I will do the draw tomorrow, so you don't need to wait too long. I got one more nice photo of a picture there. Cool. So thanks very much. Really pleasure talking to all of you, and thanks again, Exactpro. It's been really great being here with you.
Thank you, Kari, for an interesting and productive evening. So I guess we can finish now, but the chat will be active for 5 more minutes. So you have opportunity to ask the questions, and Kari will answer them directly in the chat. So yeah, for now, I think we are over. So thank you once again, everyone who participated in drawing and also in this webinar, and have a great rest of the day. Goodbye then. Bye, Kari.
Bye-bye.